Hey guys, Randy Bueller, joined by the great one, Bob Maher. We finally got you into commentary.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, your deck looked. I don't know. How do you feel about the deck so far?
Um, I like my deck a lot. The
Okay.
first game, I kept a hand that was a little mana source heavy and just drew mana sources, and my second hand was a little blue mana source light and didn't draw mana sources. So, I mean, it can certainly cut both ways, as it obviously did.
I assume there's a bunch of Monastery Mentors hiding in there that we just didn't see.
Yeah, there's a few Monastery Mentors and some other spicy cards that never really popped up, but uh, yeah, I have a few Mystic Remoras main deck and a couple
Oh,
of other
sweet.
uh, interesting takes on things. Now, the Remoras won't be as good against you, but so be it.
Yeah, I figured I just wanted to be wastelanding people. It feels like every time I look at somebody's deck list, it's short one or two land. I mean, that happens a lot when you have good players playing against other good players. They'll kind of cheat on land and figure, well, maybe I have to draw well if I'm going to win anyway. I just wanted to wasteland and null rod people this week.
Yeah, I don't know. I have three basic islands in my deck.
Fair enough. Still have a
That's
bunch of moxes that won't work on null rod.
that's probably a new record for me in number of basic lands in a deck I played in
Okay,
VSL. So
fair enough.
yeah, I was
So,
surprised to see you come in not playing the Belcher deck again.
well, I
I actually
knew
thought there's a good chance.
what I tried to do was to play a deck that I thought would be good against anti-Belcher decks. I mean, I'm actually kind of disappointed to lose the Workshops there because I thought my matchup against Workshops is actually pretty good. True Name Nemesis is normally very good against them. I have a bunch of basic lands in my deck. I don't know. Game one, I got beat by Mutavault. Like, I played my deck because it has Wastelands, and then I got killed by Mutavault because it had Island Walk off the Metamorph? Seriously? I don't know. That game was very frustrating. And then I cruise into nothing at the end. Like, I top deck the cruise, and I'm like, oh, justice. Here comes a Lord for the last point of damage. And
Okay,
no.
I don't know if you can declare
So,
justice. I mean, you had a few good draw steps there in a row, and then the treasure cruise did nothing for you.
sure. But I mean, the no way. Getting killed by Mutavault when I'm playing my deck because of
That's tough.
Wastelands felt
That's a tough one to.
that I felt frustrated.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the last game, I don't know. Was I? You it sounds like you were watching the game.
Uh, Half and half. I was also licking my wounds, getting in random two-man vintage queues,
Nice.
trying to get the.
So you're playing against. So Chris goes turn one Mishra's Factory. My draw is essentially I have Island, I have three Wastelands, a Cavern of Souls, and then I have I mean the 2/1 draw a card guy and a True Name Nemesis. So I don't have a second basic island. But I have these wastelands, and so I figure he goes Mishra's Factory done. So I wasteland it, right?
Yeah, I think you almost certainly do. Especially, I mean, in game two, you know what he's playing.
Right.
You trying to avoid the situation at all costs where he just goes workshop
Lodestone.
lodestone.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just keep wastelanding.
I thought that was right. I mean, the second wasteland, then he goes wasteland go. Now this one's easy because if I tap my wasteland for mana, I'm going to lose it anyway. So I figure I'll just try to keep him pinched because it sure smells like a mana late draw. And then obviously I have to wasteland the stupid upkeep land, the Tabernacle. He plays Tabernacle.
Well, see, the Tabernacle was the turn you drew Sapphire.
Yeah.
And since it doesn't produce mana and he can't follow up Lodestone, I actually think there's a chance you go Sapphire land. So
True name there.
did you have a creature? No, you already tapped a mana on upkeep for your 1/1.
Oh, right. I could play the two
for
drop.
the Silver
I could
Gale?
play the cantrip guy.
Yeah, I think maybe you play the cantrip guy there the following turn. Tap two lands and get rid of whatever mana producing land he drops.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe that's right. I don't think that turns out to matter. Like the way the game plays out.
Oh, he got 19 more turns. I don't think it matters at all.
Well, if I'm up a wasteland, then I can actually like if I never use that wasteland, if I never wasteland landed the initial Mistress Factory, then I would have had one more mana after he started sphering me and lodestone galling me. I would have got to Hurkyl's Recall. But like the only way I actually get to cast that Hurkyl's Recall, and then like start dumping all the creatures that accumulated is if I don't waste the very initial Mistress Factory. Like, I'm going to trade Wasteland for Tabernacle, and I'm going to trade Wasteland for Wasteland. I can't
And
change
odds are you can't wait long enough, like I said, to follow up with the mana producing land after the Tabernacle. You're just trading, getting to put the Silvergill out that turn, foregoing your 2 mana on the following turn to Wasteland.
You might be right, but I don't think that actually wound up mattering. It's the Wasteland Mishra is the only one where I think.
The more I think about it, I don't think it's an option to leave the Tabernacle on the table.
Okay.
Because you're basically saying I can win the game off this 1/1 and the 1/2, and I don't think that's a realistic possibility. Even if he's just trading man lands for it down the road.
Right.
I mean, if it is actually a land light hand.
Oh my God! Chris just said in chat what it was. He kept 6 lands and Dismember.
Oh, I saw it from the other side. Yeah, the fact that you had no 1-drop and the 3 wastelands to some extent played themselves made his keep much, much better.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad matchup for me. I mean, I fully expected to run into a Workshops deck, and I thought I was all right.
Yeah, I got a little too, I don't know, jumpy, anxious, whatnot, dropping the Snapcaster Mage just to plow a young Pyromancer when I was still at, I don't know, in the teens life.
It's a young Pyromancer, though. I would definitely have played Snapcaster that turn if I was you. I might have tried blocking
waited till end of turn, probably.
I might have tried blocking with it, honestly. And then, like, you can flashback the repeal for either the token or a Mox, depending on whether he defends Snapcaster, tries to fight Snapcaster. Yeah, I would have tried. That was the only thing I would have done differently. I would have tried blocking with it.
I was only curious, like, if I try to block with it, I think I do target the repeal.
Yeah.
And if he just kills the Snapcaster in response to the targeting,
well, you have a misstep. I think I only tried blocking because you had a misstep in your hand.
Mm-hmm. But he had like 4 or 5 cards at that point.
Agreed. Your play was definitely safer. My play is greedier, 100% greedier, and I could see his hand, so it's easy for me to say I would have blocked. But that was certainly the other line. Like, you took the conservative line where the riskier line would in fact have worked out. I don't know if it was right or not, but
see, I actually think the conservative line and probably the proper line is just to take the young Pyromancer for a turn or two and just let the game develop a little bit.
Yeah, you risk him getting an army of tokens then, though.
But I can always cast the Snapcaster in response to him committing mana to something. He was with that many cards in hand, him only having a couple of lands out, because I think he had already gushed that game. So he was just behind on mana sources. So I think if I can start that fight, I have to be able to claim that my deck won't lose to the 1/1 token. Yeah. So I wait for him to commit mana sources first.
Do you want to know what you're going to see when you actually go back and watch it? Or do you want to not know for a while?
Oh no, you could tell me.
He top decked the dig after you Snapcasters on his upkeep. And, like, you spent the mental misstep, which meant you couldn't force a will, and he had absolutely nothing, so your play looked great, and then he just immediately plucked the dig off the top of his deck.
Well, that happens. I mean,
yeah, no, it does. But yeah, it was that draw step. It was the draw step after you guys fought over the bolt.
But I think that's exactly what I didn't respect, was that each draw step is incredibly powerful in Vintage. Even if he was playing with his hand face up, I don't know that makes my play correct. I mean, just leaving when I'm holding a misstep and a force of will, just leaving myself open to anything that might fall off the top of his deck is probably just incorrect.
It's true. It's really amazing how many different little decisions there are in Vintage. It's part of what makes the format so much fun.
Yeah.
So we never got the chance. We never got the chance to talk to you about your first deck. Do you want to sing its praises or make the case for it, or is it really just like 57/60ths of a real deck and then let's have some fun?
Oh, there's no real praises for it. I actually like having a Zoran Orb and a Crucible of the Worlds instead of a Key and a Vault. Like, I think drawing either one on their own does more than Key or Vault does on their own. But
interesting.
The problem is you have to work something else in. Actually, now I'd actually worked on that deck believing that I was going to be using it after the next set rotated in, and I don't have to play a Torch, and I can just play a Tassiger. The deck just works much, much better in real life, where you can just demonstrate a loop, and I don't have to play a Torch, or have to play whatever the land is where you sack a land and do 1 to something. Or even if I do that, at least it's just a colorless land slot. But trying to click through that on Magic Online, it's more painful than I'm willing to sit through.
Yeah, I mean, the league itself is pretty gentlemanly. I don't think
Oh,
anybody
absolutely. Actually, in my match against Kai, uh, I was very thankful. He just once he saw
Oh,
what
that's
was
the one
going
where
on.
all you have is the ability to recurse fetch lands and look with Divining Top. And
Yeah,
you're like,
and I
oh
just
look,
told him, like,
eventually I'm gonna find my torch.
yeah, I'm going to keep doing this until I find Torch. And his only answer to that in the chat was, well, in a real tournament, that might take you too long, and then he conceded. I mean, it's just one of those things that he played it more like live Magic, like we're kind of accustomed to, and that's the only reason that I even played that deck in this. I mean, I've played it in tournaments online, and I have to have no distractions. Like, it's the only thing I'm doing. I'm not multi-queuing. I'm not doing anything else. I'm conceding games just because they're starting to look bad, and I finish most of my matches with between 3 and 5 minutes on my clock.
Okay. That Tassiger does sound sweet in that deck, though. Tassiger sounds like it makes it just straight better.
Oh, I actually think the deck is legitimate. I don't think it's tier one. I don't like if you had your choice of any deck to play in Vintage. I don't necessarily think that's what you should play, but it adds flavor to the league, and I think it's better than people gave it credit for. But having to play the Torch due to the restrictions of Magic Online is a definite problem. In a live tournament, it's much better.
All right. Well, we got one match left today. Let's get down there. David Williams versus Tom Martell. No, that is the wrong one. David Williams now 03 rather than 02. There you see
I can
his
relate to that.
stats. What's that?
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
In the commentary, he was talking about not wanting to be 04 or possibly 05. I can relate to all those positions.
How you were 04 last year before you turned it around?
I was 05 last year.
Oh, right. You were 05 and then just won 4 on the bounce to survive.
Yes. Yeah, once I put confidence in my deck, I went 3-0.
Now we have the March roll, also 0-3. So big match for these guys.
I guess Dredge didn't work out quite so well this time.
Yeah, that's right. It's our two Dredge buddies. Let's see what they're running now. Tom looks like he's on Delver with main deck Slice and Dice, I'm going to guess, from that hand.
I actually think that looks more like Planeswalker control, but like one Dak, one Jace.
Yeah, it's a Grixis control deck, right? We see red, blue, and black.
But
Some sort of
I'm guessing he's got like one Snapcaster, one Blightsteel.
Yeah, you're right. The Jace would not be in the Delver deck. Delver doesn't tend to have enough mana to play Jace.
And Williams
could be on almost anything. Could be Delver, could be Grixis control. I know he's played a fair amount of Grixis control since Vintage hit Mitgo.
The top would steer me away from Delver again, kind of like the Jace.
Yeah, you're right.
So I would say like Mentor or some sort of weird. Most of the control decks, he either has Mentors in his deck or Trinket Mages or both.
I'll buy that. They're going to fight over a Sensei Divining Top. Mental missteps run into each other. Tom's not going to spend a Force of Will on this, is he?
I would hope not. Maybe. I don't know what you'd remember. Wow.
Divining Top's pretty annoying. Can do a lot of work, especially because Tom's hand doesn't go anywhere in a hurry, you know?
It can do a lot of work. I will give you that. And what maybe when someone leads with Mox Top, it matters?
It means he's very likely to be activating it right away. Yeah, no, interesting judgment call by Tom.
Yeah.
All right, these missteps will just smash into each other. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be sort of good old-fashioned control battle so far. Sure, Preordain. See if you can find... Hasn't used his land drop for the turn. Would probably like to. Preordain seems better than Brainstorm there, yeah. Now he will presumably not crack the fetch until next turn. He'd rather be able to shuffle away the refuse from the Brainstorm than be up that mana next turn.
Yeah, I mean, 3 mana sources in play versus a hand that theoretically doesn't do anything for at least 3 turns. Has to be a big jump. Okay, yeah, I'm going to start
Now
leaning.
it's got to be Mentor, right?
Yeah, I'm going to start leaning distinctly towards Mentor once you see a
Is that 3 Mentor decks? It is 3 Mentors and 1 normal Delver.
David, Menindian, and myself. Yeah.
And there we go. There is the Monastery Mentor. Now,
And what's the first match? What was Ephro playing?
he's on Shops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2 Shops decks.
Oh, I'm not even going to play against Shops. Between deck and board, I have 4 Hercules recalls.
I have 4 Steel Sabotages, but not that I could draw any.
Ooh.
Like I said, I expected to run into it.
And there it is.
Yeah, no, he put it back with a Brainstorm and redrew it. Did not want to shuffle that one away with the fetch land. We're going to see Monastery Mentor make a token finally? So far, all we've seen it do is die to Toxic Deluge. Dave seems to be in pretty good shape. What, 4 or 5 cards in the yard already? Dig Through Time is going to be... Dig Through Time is essentially turned on, and with Pyroblast backup. Spitting off Monk tokens. Oh, Recoup! Martell's playing Gifts! That's what that's got to be, right?
It might not
Nobody
be
else
full
plays
on gifts.
Recoup
It
other
might
than
be
Gifts.
like 2 gifts, and this is just facilitating it, but it could just be the full 4 on gifts.
I mean, you don't put Recoup in your deck without Gifts on Gift. Wow. And Tom just doesn't want to show him what's up. He's like, all right, you've got your Mentor, Ancestral, you've got tokens, you're way a million cards ahead of me. Tom just doesn't want Dave to know what he's up to. What did he show him? He showed him Underground, Delta, yeah, Force, Misstep, Scalding Tarn. Interesting.
In all honesty, if I was David, I would assume he was on Doomsday.
Doomsday? Okay. I'll buy that. Could be Doomsday. Could be... Certainly didn't play out like any kind of Delverish deck.
Yeah, no, not at all. And no, I think that's actually a great place to concede right there. If he's looking to keep some element.
Tom saved a lot of information for sure. David doesn't know what he's playing against, but Tom does. Yeah, it's got to be Gifts. Oh, I hope somebody's playing Gifts. I really want it to be Gifts. It has to be, right? It has to be at least 2 or 3 Gifts Ungiven in that list, or you wouldn't run a Recoup.
There's at least 2.
Yeah, saw the Yawgmoth's Will. I mean, the one of Slice and Dice makes a ton of sense if you've got the ability to tutor for things with Gifts.
I don't know how often the Slice and Dice ends up in your hand if it's a backbreaker. And it's not like you can recoup it to cycle it.
Well, you probably have, was it Noxious Revival is the one that puts on top?
Noxious, I've only seen Noxious Revival showing up in like the full-on Tassiger, mill my entire deck, put Time Walk back on top.
Oh, it was in the Gifts decks I was testing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think it's actually better than Recoup. I was not running the Recoup toward the end. Not that I got any of the decks to a point where I thought they were good enough to run. Especially when I expected people to be playing Workshop decks. Because the Gifts deck, it's not as soft to Null Rod as Charbelcher, but it is soft to Null Rod because you need your mana. Gifts is an expensive Magic card for Vintage.
Yes. Well, these both look like perfectly playable hands. David's draws a little mana source heavy, but could turn into anything between the probe he just top decked and preordained.
Misstep on preordain. David is not going to use his probe, and he's going to hold his Moxen. The Strip Mine, nailing the basic island.
But again, it doesn't necessarily work out here, but that's a fine play. You have to figure when somebody leads with basic island that there's not a whole lot of follow-up.
David going to wait on that Brainstorm? Makes sense.
Yeah, there's really nothing he needs to react to right now, and the Mentor decks play out significantly slower than the Pyromancer decks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he drew another misstep. I missed that. That's awkward. David really wanted that brainstorm.
I really just thought because he could drop so many mana sources at any given time, he was just going to sit on that brainstorm until something happened.
Well, I mean, I think he had the fetch land set up. His hand wasn't going anywhere. I think he must feel like he needs to be the aggressor in this match.
Yeah.
I mean, if he is playing against Doomsday, or even if he's playing against just like a Tezzeret deck. Sort of Grixis control. There's his Mentor. And now, yeah, slow rolling those Moxen looks great right now.
Yeah.
Jeez, Monastery Mentor in the house. Mox Sapphire makes a monk token. Look at your hand and make another monk token.
Yeah, I don't think that resolves.
That's fine. It still made a monk token.
Indeed.
And now what? You sit on the other Mox for next turn?
I think you hold it, yeah.
Trigger prowess on 3 creatures?
Yeah, it's three damage versus 1 or 2, depending on what you draw next turn.
All right, Tom needs to draw something. Flusterstorm doesn't do anything. Snapcaster gets, what is it? He's got a misstep, and what's the other? Is it 3 missteps in his yard?
Yes. Strip Mine, Sackland, 3 missteps in his yard.
Yeah, Pyroblast doesn't do anything.
No.
Oh, jeez. Look at all those triggers.
Yes, so we're going to end up seeing David attacking for about 10 this turn.
Go, Gadget Mentor.
And that's assuming this probe gets Pyroblasted.
Which, yeah, it seems like it should. But even that does a damage.
Well, you've nothing to Snapcaster right now, so if you need the Pyro later, you can always just snap it.
I'm just impressed by the way the Mentor deck's playing out here. It looks really good.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I guess, yeah, you just go get the misstep.
Yeah, and now David's just going to play his Mox Pearl so that his guys are a 4/4 and a couple of 3/3s.
Yeah, I figure you're so far behind right there, I really might hold that Snapcaster and just Pyro. I mean, you have to hope there's something like Ancestral Recall on top of your deck, or Time Walk or something.
Wow. Monastery Mentor.
And that'll do her.
Tom has seen enough. Wow.
Well done.
That was fast.
It was indeed.
David does not go 0-2 on the day. Dredge finished off his 0-3, but he gets the win with the new deck. Martell, not so much. So he's got good company at 0-4, though. It's him and Kai. Yes.
Well, welcome to the league, I guess.
Yeah. And then 1-3 does feel better. We were saying this last round when there's a couple of 0-4s below you.
Yeah. No, it does. It's a pretty terrible feeling when you're the only one at the bottom of the list.
But you can totally recover from it.
You can. I was very lucky last year that there was so many possible ties at the end of the season.
Yeah, you got all the way. You were almost made the playoffs. You were still drawing live in the last round to make the playoffs at 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was, and then once I won my match, I was on a free roll.
Sure.
When Raptor lost, then I was free and clear.
Yep. Well, 6 matches. That was a fun day.
Yeah.
The decks look pretty cool here. We've got 3 Monastery Mentor decks. I'm gonna guess Martell is on gifts, although I guess we haven't actually seen a gifts Ungiven out of him. We've got the crazy like show and tell omniscience brew that Luis and Kai both seem like they're on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to play against LSV with that one. I'm going to have to find somebody to on the other side of that.
2 workshop decks rounding out our metagame nicely. They seemed like that's about what I was expecting this week. And then, yeah, I guess I'm the weirdo on Merfolk.
And Rich Shea on...
oh, and a Delver. Right. One
Delver.
Just Delver. Yeah, Rich was saying he tested Mentor builds and he thought Delver was just better than the Mentor decks that are running around. I personally thought that the some of the different card choices gave you more resilience against the field, but yeah. So obviously,
Hey, look at the scoreboard. He made his choice, I made mine, and he crushed me in 2 games straight. So I can't say too much about his choices at this point.
Yeah, you're allowed to whine a little bit. I certainly whined about mine.
Well, my draws weren't great, but
Yeah.
that's just vintage sometimes. You
Oh
have a
yeah.
certain mana sources, and sometimes you hit a lot of them, sometimes you don't. It's just the way it goes. I was glad we got to see exactly why some people will pay 1 more mana for a Monastery Mentor. Like, David puts it into play 1 turn, and the following turn Martell concedes.
Yep.
Whereas there's a lot of times with a young Pyromancer in play, you can let it just or it in a token hit you for 2 or 3 turns and then decide to deal with it. Especially, I thought the slice and dices I played in the first trimester really shined through. Like, they really did their job.
Yep.
And now I saw that Tom even had 1 main deck. That's not something I wanted to try and deal with young Pyromancer. Between people playing Volcanic Fallout.
Oh no, I totally agree. It seems like the league came prepared for Delver this week. Delver and Belcher were the targets.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you wanted to zig. If everybody else expected you to be there, go somewhere else. We wound up with a pretty interesting mix of decks, I think. Yeah, let's look at the schedule, see how we got here. Start to wind things down for week 4. So Chris and David did have to make up their match from last week, and Chris was victorious. So Blue Belcher went 5-1 in the first set, but nobody was willing to run it back against a field that knew it was coming, or at least could be coming. Kai versus Eric, sort of the bottom of the standings versus the top of the standings. Eric stayed on his heater, showed up with a shops deck, and sent Kai down to 0-4.
So Eric's shops deck, is that more Martello shops, or is
it's Martello. Yeah, it looks like Chris's was Terra Nova and Eric's is Martello. So our 2 shops decks are sort of the 2 significantly different versions that seem to be running around. Luis and Steve, the rematch of last year's final, and these guys played a great match. It was yet another one where Menendian had the grip full of so many counters that he had to discard Pyroblast at one point, and Luis just waited and let Steve discard stuff, and then eventually when Luis thought he had a hand that could do something, they fought. All of Steve's counters got used up. Oh, Elish Norn came down. Hardcast Elish Norn, and Steve was literally no answer in his entire deck for Elish Norn, so yeah, Luis wins the finals rematch.
I don't even understand how can we have a replay of that story again? I mean, I don't know how many times I watched the replay from season 1.
I know.
Where Steve has more counters than LSV has cards in hand, and then they just run it back again this season.
Well, at least this time Luis didn't get an Ancestral misdirected. He probed to see the misdirection and then just didn't cast the Ancestral.
Yeah, he was 1 Gitaxian probe short of Steve getting another one of his Ancestrals.
Yeah, that match was great. It's 2-2, though. I mean, maybe they'll run it back in the playoffs. They're currently at 2-2. And Steve's the one with the Season 1 champions line. Still, great match.
Yep.
Rich played you, and standings tightened up a little bit there. Rich is no longer an ATOG. He's now Dr. ATOG, which I guess makes him 2-2. Dr. ATOG board.
Seems only fitting I lose to the good doctor.
I had to play Chris. Neither one of us brought Belchers. Chris showed up with Workshops, which I did think was the most likely deck for him. Looks like he had me on Oath as the most likely deck. I just saw scroll by in the chat. Chris was victorious, so his 2-0 is all the way up to 4-0 now and tied with Efro in first place. I join you and Rich in the middle of the pack. And then David and Tom fighting not to be 0-4. Monastery Mentors are not 0-4. Instead, it is whatever Tom's running. Quite possibly a Gifts deck. Yeah, it sounds like it is Gifts for sure.
Yeah, so Eric is 4-0, Pakula is 4-0.
Yes. Who's 3-1? Just Luis?
I believe so.
Yeah, it looks like it's just Luis. Because, yeah, Steve lost, you lost, I lost. So there's just a cluster, all of us 2-2. Hey, we're tied for a playoff spot. How about that? 2-2, tied for 4th place. I'll take it. Felt a little better 3 weeks ago when I was 2-0 and in first place all by myself.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I haven't won since week 1.
Oh, wow, that's right, because you have to play them both.
Yes, I have not won since week 1. Hopefully we'll change that next week.
Yeah, anything can happen in this league. I'm just waiting to see what the what possible variants we're drawing into in the last round again.
I'll have to think up a good scenario again. Well, there you go, guys. There's the second slate of decks. Looks like it's a good one. Certainly lots going on. We'll see how things play out over the next couple weeks as we close in on the halfway mark for Vintage Super League Season 2. Come back, same time, same place next week. We'll have more vintage action for you. Thanks, Bob. Glad we could finally get you onto the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Should be a lot of fun these couple of weeks.
All right. See you guys next week.